Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? You know, the more I think about this fight, the more I think that this could possibly be an upset of epic proportions. And there's many reasons why I'm thinking this. I'm looking at all the fights. I'm looking at all of the Chris Algieri fights, all of the recent Manny Pacquiao fights. And for starters, one thing that I notice is Chris Algieri, he did better against Ruslan Provodnikov than Tim Bradley did. He did better against Emmanuel Taylor than Kareem Mayfield did. And I truly believe that he is going to do better against Manny Pacquiao than Tim Bradley did in both fights. I truly believe this. And I believe it because of the natural attributes that Chris Algieri possesses. One of them is his height, his long arms, his foot movement, his great jab. He has a good chin. He has a lot of heart. And most importantly, he has a lot of intelligence in the ring. Once again, how many times have we seen Manny Pacquiao in the ring with a tall guy that uses foot movement? A tall guy who knows how to use a jab. Last time Pacquiao was in the ring with a tall guy, it was Antonio Margarito. But Margarito doesn't fight like a tall guy. Margarito is tall as hell, but he fights like a short, compact fighter. He's what, damn near 6 foot tall, 5'11", but he fights like a 5'6" fighter from Mexico. He fights like Julio Cesar Chavez, right? But what happens when Manny Pacquiao fights against a tall guy who fights like a tall guy? Don't get me wrong, Manny Pacquiao definitely has a chance of knocking this guy out. But then even when you think about knockouts, you have to ask yourself, when is the last time Manny Pacquiao got a knockout? And I'm talking about a knockout. I'm not talking about an accumulated TKO. The last time Manny Pacquiao got a knockout, it was against Ricky Hatton. And we all know Ricky Hatton fights nothing like Chris Algieri. We know his stature, we know his build is nothing like Chris Algieri, right? How did Pacquiao get that knockout over Ricky Hatton? Pacquiao got that knockout with Ricky Hatton coming in flat-footed with his hands down, looking to land a big bomb on Manny Pacquiao. What did Pacquiao do? He took a little quick step over to the side. He threw a little paw jab and threw somewhat of an overhand left. Okay? It was almost like a short hook almost, because it was a real short left hand. Ricky Hatton once again was walking in with his hands down. Made it very easy for Manny Pacquiao to land that punch. Chris Algieri is not going to make it that easy. He's not going to make it that easy. Manny Pacquiao definitely has a chance of winning this fight. But I don't see a knockout in this fight. I don't see Pacquiao knocking out Chris. And if he can't knock out Chris, he gives Chris his best chance to do better as the fight goes on. So if you were to ask me, Dante, then what does Pacquiao need to do to win this fight? Well, what Pacquiao would need to do is he would need to close the distance. He would need to get on the inside, cut off the ring, negate Chris Algieri's foot movement, make it a rough fight, take away Chris Algieri's jab. That's what Pacquiao would need to do. But the problem is, Pacquiao is not that type of fighter. Pacquiao is not an inside fighter. Okay? Some of Pacquiao's best weapons and attributes are his speed and his angles. But speed can be negated with a jab, number one. Angles can be negated from someone else using foot movement. You can't use angles when you're chasing a guy. Angles are only for when the bull is coming after you. Right? Now, don't get me wrong, there's always a counterattack. For example, Manny Pacquiao, he can step to the side and try to land his left hand. But the problem is it's going to be very difficult to do it against a tall, moving target. The difference from Chris and Juan Marquez and Tim Bradley is when Marquez and Bradley throws their jabs, they're still in distance to be hit with a counter. They're still close enough in proximity to be hit with a counter shot. It's going to be very difficult for Manny Pacquiao to reach Chris Algieri once he throws his jab. That is the big difference right there. Okay? And I know Pacquiao fans, or a lot of boxing fans in general, they like to say Chris Algieri, he has no chance because he's never faced anyone outside of Ruslan Provodnikov. Look at who Manny Pacquiao has faced. Look at who Chris Algieri has faced. There's your answer right there. This is the perception of the Manny Pacquiao fan and the masses of fans that watch boxing. But I want you guys to look at the history of boxing. How many times have we seen an undefeated fighter go in the ring against an opponent who has all the experience in the world? And that undefeated fighter, he doesn't really have any experience. And that undefeated fighter still wins and dominates. Case in point, Andre Ward going into the Super 6. He had never faced anyone before that tournament. Case in point, Floyd Mayweather with only 17 fights fighting against a heavy, experienced champion, lineal champion, Gennaro Hernandez. The media and everyone else, they were saying Floyd Mayweather was making a huge mistake to take that fight against Gennaro Hernandez because of the lack of experience that Floyd Mayweather had. We know what took place that night. Floyd Mayweather, he dominated the much more experienced Gennaro Hernandez. So you can't really base things off how many challenges, how many tough fights you've been in the ring with, who's on your resume. You can't really base it off of that. You have to base things on skill and technique. I think I've learned everything that I needed to know about Chris Algieri watching the Provodnikov fight and watching the Emmanuel Taylor fight. I've seen heart, I've seen intelligence, I've seen defense, and I've seen the ability to adjust. I mean, of course I could be wrong. Of course Manny Pacquiao can go in there and bombard this guy, and, you know, I could be wrong. But just looking at what I'm looking at, it seems to me that Chris Algieri has a very good chance of not only beating Manny Pacquiao, but doing it in an impressive fashion. Now, in terms of the judges, I can't speak for them. We don't know if they're going to do the right thing. I mean, recently, the judges have been making a mockery of this sport that we love called boxing. So I can't speak for the judges. All I can do is believe my own damn eyes. Okay? So we'll see what happens. I'm on to the next one.